Princess Mara stepped off the silver shuttle onto the polished marble of the Zarathian palace courtyard. The sky was a deep violet, streaked with golden clouds, and the twin suns reflected off the crystal towers of her home world. Today was her coming-of-age ceremony, a day every Zarathian awaited with pride and excitement. Yet Mara felt a strange tension in her chest, one that had nothing to do with ceremony or tradition. She adjusted the flowing fabric of her ceremonial robe and looked around at the bustling palace grounds. Dignitaries from every planet in their alliance were present. Guards in polished armor stood like statues along the pathways. Her advisors followed close behind, whispering reminders of protocol and procedure. Mara nodded politely, but her mind wandered. Among the crowd, she noticed someone different. A human, dressed in simple but formal attire, walked calmly beside the Zarathian ambassadors. His hair was dark, eyes steady, and his posture confident. Mara had seen humans before, but they were always visitors, observers, or diplomats. This one was assigned to palace security. His name was Leo. She had been told he was skilled and trustworthy, a rare quality among his kind. The ceremony began in the grand hall, where light shimmered off crystal chandeliers and the walls displayed ancient Zarathian history. Mara's heart beat faster as she walked forward. Today, the Soulmate indicator would be on her hand. The device was a small, elegant bracelet that glowed when she touched her destined partner. It had never activated before. No Zarathian in history had ever had a human light up the indicator. Mara tried to focus on the speeches and formalities, but her eyes kept returning to Leo. He stood near the entrance, observing quietly, a calm presence in the sea of color and movement. When the ceremony ended, the guests dispersed, leaving Mara to walk through the halls with her advisors. She kept her hands close to herself, but fate had other plans. In a quiet corridor, Mara and Leo crossed paths. A sudden jolt of nervous energy ran through her as she stepped forward. She accidentally brushed her hand against his. Time seemed to stretch. Mara froze. Her heart pounded, and the bracelet on her wrist glowed with an intense bright light. She had never seen it shine like this. Leo's eyes widened slightly, and he took a small step back, unsure of what had just happened. Mara could not move or speak. The warmth in her hand and the glow of the bracelet told her everything and nothing at once. The rules of Zarathian society were clear. A soulmate connection could change the course of one's life, even the destiny of their people. "Princess Mara," said an advisor, snapping her out of her trance, "are you feeling unwell?" Mara blinked and looked at him, forcing her voice to remain calm. I am fine," she said, though her mind raced. She could not take her eyes off Leo, whose expression was unreadable but steady. The glow on her wrist slowly dimmed, but the memory of that instant lingered in her thoughts. She retreated to her chambers, her steps quick and determined. The walls were decorated with tapestries depicting Zarathian history, and the large windows looked out over the sprawling gardens. Mara pressed her hand to the indicator and watched as it faded to a gentle, soft glow. Her mind spun with questions. Could a human truly be her soulmate? Was it even possible? Leo walked along the palace corridors, unaware of the significance of the moment for Mara. He had noticed the sudden brightness of the bracelet, and the way Mara's hand had trembled slightly. He felt a strange curiosity, a pull he could not explain. Humans often felt emotions more intensely, he thought, but this was beyond anything he had experienced. Mara sat by the window, staring at the twin suns. She had been raised to rule, to follow the traditions of her people. But she had also been taught to respect her instincts, to trust the guidance of her heart. Today, both instinct and heart had pointed her toward someone unexpected. The palace was quiet, but Mara's thoughts were loud. She thought of the stories her grandmother had told her about rare soulmate bonds that had shaped history. She thought of the legends where destiny and courage intertwined. Could a human and a Zarathian change history? Could she defy expectations without bringing shame to her family? Hours passed and Mara remained at her window. She watched as the suns dipped lower, casting long shadows across the palace gardens. The glow of the bracelet faded completely, but the feeling it had stirred in her heart would not. She knew that she had to understand this connection, no matter the risk. Somewhere in the halls, Leo paused as well, sensing that something extraordinary had occurred. He could not explain it, but he felt drawn to Mara, a quiet, unspoken pull. Neither of them knew what the future held, but both had felt the first spark of a bond that could change everything. As night fell over Zarathis, The palace lights shimmered like stars. Mara finally rose from her seat, determined to face whatever came next. She would not ignore her instincts. She would not hide from destiny. And in the quiet of her chambers, she whispered to herself, "I must know him." The next morning, Princess Mara awoke with a restless mind. Sleep had not brought her peace, only vivid thoughts of the glowing bracelet and the touch of the human named Leo. She dressed quickly in her ceremonial robes and made her way to the palace library. The library was vast, filled with records of Zarathian history, ancient texts, and holographic displays of important events. Mara hoped to find answers about the Soulmate indicator and the rare bonds it revealed. Her personal librarian, an elder named Terran, greeted her with a respectful bow. "Princess, you are early today," he said, his voice gentle but firm. Mara nodded, barely noticing him. "I need to know everything about the indicator," she said, "especially instances where it has shown a connection to someone unexpected." Terran's eyes widened slightly. "Unexpected connections are almost unheard of, Your Highness. Most Zarathians' indicators only react to others of our kind. There are very few exceptions, and those have always been with strangers from distant worlds, never a human who resides among our allies." Mara's pulse quickened. Could it be possible that she had bonded with Leo? She asked Terran to show her the ancient records. Together they reviewed holographic images and written accounts. She learned that when the indicator activated, it was considered a sign of great destiny. Those who discovered a soulmate often faced challenges, yet they also had the potential to achieve incredible unity and strength. Hours passed, and Mara's curiosity grew stronger. She thought of Leo's calm demeanor, the way his eyes had met hers when the bracelet had glowed. There was something about him that felt familiar, though she knew they had never met before that day. She tried to focus on the ceremony and the court's expectations, but her thoughts always returned to the moment of the spark. Meanwhile, Leo walked through the palace gardens, unaware of the weight his presence carried for Mara. He had always been trained to remain observant and calm, yet he noticed how the princess's attention seemed to linger on him. There was a quiet intensity in her gaze, a mixture of curiosity and hesitation. Leo wondered if he had somehow upset her or caused discomfort, but he could not explain the strange sense of connection he felt. Later, Mara found herself in the training halls, practicing with the ceremonial staff. She moved gracefully, her form precise, but her mind was elsewhere. Every strike, every movement reminded her of the glowing bracelet and the warmth she had felt when touching Leo. The sensation had been brief, yet it left a mark in her memory, impossible to ignore. Her advisor, Lauren, approached, observing her carefully. "Princess Mara, you seem distracted," he said. "Is everything all right?" Mara hesitated. Could she explain the soulmate bond to someone who would see it as a threat to tradition? She forced a polite smile. "I am well, Lauren. Just focusing on my training," she replied. But the truth was far more complicated. Mara knew that if the court learned about the bond, they might oppose it, or worse, try to separate her from Leo. She had to understand the connection in private before revealing it to anyone else. As the day turned to afternoon, Mara returned to the balcony overlooking the palace gardens. She thought about the legends Terran had read to her. In some stories, the soulmate bond had united planets, prevented wars, and created great prosperity. In others, ignoring the bond had led to conflict and regret. She realized that the choice she faced was not just personal. It could affect her people, her family, and even the humans allied with Zarathis. Suddenly, Leo appeared in the gardens below, practicing his own routines as part of his security duties. Mara watched him quietly, noticing how he moved with purpose and strength. He did not seem aware of the pull between them, yet his presence stirred something deep within her. Mara debated whether to approach him, but fear and duty held her back. She knew that their first encounter had already been witnessed by fate itself. Later, Terran returned to bring more ancient texts. He placed them on the table and spoke softly. "Princess, the soulmate bond is rare and precious. It is not something to fear, but to understand. The indicator does not lie. It shows what the heart and destiny have chosen. Perhaps your connection is meant to teach both of you something important." Mara considered his words carefully. Could she truly trust the bracelet? Could she trust her own feelings? She thought of Leo's calm, intelligent eyes, the way he had seemed steady even as the indicator flared. She felt drawn to him in a way that transcended duty, beyond curiosity, almost like a calling. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the marble floors and golden gardens. Mara remained in the library, reading and thinking. She knew that ignoring the bond was not an option. She needed to understand Leo, to learn why this human had activated the indicator and what it meant for both their worlds. As night fell over Zarathis, Mara looked at the stars above the palace towers. Somewhere out there, Leo was moving through the halls, unaware of how significant he had become to the princess. Mara whispered to herself, a mix of determination and fear in her voice. I have to know him. I must understand this bond. The soulmate indicator on her wrist remained calm for now, but Mara knew it had only paused, waiting for the next moment when destiny would bring them together again. She felt a new sense of purpose, a mix of courage and anticipation. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she would face them. The bond had chosen them, and she would honor it. The next day, Princess Mara moved carefully through the palace corridors. Her mind focused on the human guard named Leo. She could not stop thinking about the soulmate indicator and the warmth it had given her. Every step she took was measured. She knew the palace watched her closely, and one mistake could cause a scandal. Yet the pull toward Leo was impossible to ignore. Leo moved with his usual calm and purpose, performing his duties while keeping an eye on the princess. He sensed something different in her. There was a quiet tension around her, a mix of curiosity and caution that he could not fully understand. The first touch they had shared lingered in his mind, though he did not yet know its full meaning. That evening, Mara found herself in the palace gardens, a quiet place where few walked at this hour. The air smelled of strange flowers, glowing faintly under the soft light of the twin moons. She hoped to see Leo there, though she had no right to summon him. She wanted only to understand the bond, to see if it truly existed outside the moment of the first touch. Leo appeared, seemingly by chance, moving among the paths and checking the perimeter. When he saw Mara, he bowed slightly, his expression respectful. Princess Mara, he said, his voice calm. You're out later than usual. Mara forced a polite smile. The day was long, she said. I needed some air. These gardens are peaceful at night. She looked at him closely. His presence felt reassuring yet exciting. I have questions, she admitted softly. Leo tilted his head, curious. Questions about Zarathis? He asked. Mara shook her head. About us, she whispered, feeling the words almost too dangerous to say aloud. She noticed the soulmate indicator on her wrist glow faintly, reminding her that this was more than curiosity. They walked together through the gardens, keeping to the shadows. Mara felt nervous, aware that anyone discovering them could create problems. Yet with Leo, the fear seemed to fade, replaced by a strange confidence. They talked carefully, sharing small stories about their lives. Mara told him about the palace, the Zarathian customs, and the responsibilities she carried. Leo spoke of Earth, the humans, and his training to adapt to alien environments. Every word brought them closer. Every glance made Mara's heart beat faster. She could feel the pull of the bond between them strengthening. When their hands brushed accidentally, the soulmate indicator glowed briefly, sending warmth through her entire body. Mara froze, unsure if she should pull back. Leo, noticing her pause, stepped closer, giving her space but staying near. I do not understand why this is happening, Mara said quietly. I have never felt anything like it before. Leo nodded slowly. I feel it too, he admitted. There is something unusual here, something beyond what I can explain. Mara looked around the gardens, seeing the shadows of the palace walls and the glimmer of the moonlight on the fountains. If anyone finds out about this, it could ruin everything, she said. The council, the advisors, my family, they would not accept it. Leo's expression remained calm. Then we must be careful, he said. But we can still learn about each other even in secret. For the next few hours, they moved quietly among the paths, talking and observing. Mara began to understand that Leo's perspective was different from that of the Zarathians. He saw value in simple actions, in honesty and in trust. These were qualities that Mara had longed for in someone close to her. She realized that this bond was not just about fate, it was also about character, courage, and understanding. The palace remained quiet as the night deepened. Mara and Leo lingered in the gardens, sharing small laughs and discovering small common interests. Mara felt freer than she had in years. She had always been surrounded by advisors and rules, but with Leo she could simply be herself. Suddenly a shadow passed near the garden entrance. Mara's heart skipped a beat. She pressed close to Leo, trying to remain unseen. The guard who passed by glanced quickly at them but continued on. Mara let out a small sigh of relief, realizing how dangerous even a small discovery could be. Leo placed a gentle hand near hers, not touching, but close enough to feel the warmth between them. The soulmate indicator glowed again, faintly but unmistakably. Mara could not stop staring at it, and she realized that their connection was real. It was no longer a fleeting moment. It was a bond that demanded attention, understanding, and courage. As the twin moons began to fade, Mara knew it was time to return to her chambers. She looked at Leo with gratitude and determination. "We must be careful," she whispered. "But I want to understand this. I want to know what it means for us." Leo nodded. "I feel the same," he said. "We will take it one step at a time." Mara turned and walked back toward the palace, her mind alive with possibilities. She understood that the bond with Leo could change her life, her future, and perhaps the future of Zarathus itself. Yet she also knew the path ahead would be difficult, filled with challenges and scrutiny. Still, she felt ready. The connection was no longer a secret from her heart, and she was determined to explore it, even if the world would not yet accept it. That night, as the palace lights dimmed and the gardens grew silent, Mara lay in her chambers, thinking of Leo. The soulmate indicator rested calmly on her wrist, but the feeling it had awakened within her burned brightly. She knew that the story of their bond was only beginning, and that the days ahead would test courage, trust, and the strength of the human and alien connection. The following morning, the palace was alive with activity. Princess Mara moved among her advisors, attending meetings about trade agreements, ceremonial preparations, and the upcoming celebrations. Yet even amid the bustle, her thoughts remained with Leo. The bond they shared, confirmed by the soulmate indicator, occupied her mind more than any duty or ceremony. Leo walked through the palace corridors with the precision and calm of a trained guard. He observed the routines of the palace, noting the details others overlooked. His eyes often found Mara, studying her movements from a distance. He wanted to understand her, to see how she handled the pressures of being a princess. He had been trained to be alert, to anticipate danger, and to follow orders. Yet Mara presented a challenge that no training could prepare him for, a bond that transcended protocol and reason. Later in the day, Mara found a quiet moment in the palace library. She moved to a secluded corner, hoping to study ancient records without interruption. Leo, performing routine security checks, noticed her absence from the main halls. Curiosity stirred within him. He approached cautiously, keeping a respectful distance. "Princess Mara," he said softly. "Are you alone?" Mara looked up and gave a small, polite nod. "Yes, I needed some time to think," she replied. Her heart raced, not from fear but from anticipation. The connection between them felt stronger in private, as if the bond could speak louder when no one else watched. Leo observed her closely. "I do not fully understand this world," he admitted, "or the customs, but I want to learn. I want to understand you." Mara's eyes softened. "That is more than most would offer," she said. "Humans are often cautious, distant. You are different." They spoke quietly for hours, sharing small details of their lives. Mara learned about Leo's upbringing, his training, and his desire to bridge the gap between humans and Zarathians. She realized that he viewed life with a balance of curiosity and practicality, a perspective she admired. Leo, in turn, learned about the responsibilities Mara carried, the weight of her title, and the loneliness of being a princess. As the conversation continued, Mara realized that her bond with Leo was more than the soulmate indicator. She felt understood in ways she never had before. Leo's calm presence and genuine interest made her feel safe and valued. The palace, with all its rules and expectations, seemed distant compared to the simple connection she felt with him. Yet danger lurked in the shadows. A rival noble, Kiran, had begun to notice Mara's unusual behavior. He observed her quiet moments, the way she lingered in certain parts of the palace, and her subtle glances toward Leo. Kiran was ambitious and cunning, always searching for opportunities to gain influence over the court. He sensed that something was changing in the princess, and he intended to learn what it was. Mara and Leo continued their secret interactions. Every touch, every shared glance strengthened the bond. The soulmate indicator glowed subtly when they were near, though they learned to mask it from the prying eyes of the palace. Mara felt torn. She wanted to explore the connection openly, yet she knew that the court would not accept a human as a partner for the princess. One evening, Mara and Leo met in the gardens again. The air was cool, and the moonlight reflected off the crystal fountains. They spoke of hopes, fears, and the future. Mara admitted her uncertainty. "I do not know if the council would ever accept this," she said softly. "If they discover the bond, it could cause problems for both of us." Leo nodded. "Then we proceed carefully," he said. "But hiding it does not mean ignoring it. We must find a balance between duty and truth." Mara felt a surge of courage. She realized that Leo's perspective, his willingness to face challenges calmly and thoughtfully, gave her strength. Perhaps this bond was not only a personal connection, but also a chance to change minds, to show that a human could be trusted, respected, and even loved by a Zarathian princess. As the days passed, the bond between Mara and Leo grew. They learned to communicate through subtle gestures, quiet glances, and careful words. The soulmate indicator became a guide, a reminder of their connection, but also a warning to remain cautious. Meanwhile, Kieran began asking questions. He approached members of the court, hinting at unusual behavior in the princess. Though his words were vague, some advisors grew suspicious. Mara sensed the growing scrutiny and realized that secrecy would become increasingly difficult. She also understood that the bond with Leo could not remain hidden forever. Despite the danger, Mara felt a renewed sense of purpose. The connection with Leo was no longer a source of fear. It was a source of strength, teaching her patience, trust, and courage. She knew that the challenges ahead would test both her and Leo, but she also knew that together, they could face anything. That night, Mara returned to her chambers, her thoughts filled with the calm confidence of having Leo by her side even from a distance. She looked at the soulmate indicator, which glowed softly, a quiet promise of what was to come. Somewhere in the palace, Leo was thinking of her too, feeling the pull of a bond that neither time nor tradition could easily break. Mara closed her eyes, readying herself for the days ahead. The human had entered her world in an unexpected way, but he had also brought clarity, courage, and hope. She knew that the journey was only beginning, and that their connection would grow stronger with every careful step they took together. The palace buzzed with whispers. Princess Mara could feel the tension even before the council meeting began. Rumors were spreading. Some advisors noticed her frequent absences and secretive glances, though no one yet knew the true reason. But Mara sensed that her private bond with Leo was no longer entirely safe. Kieran, the ambitious noble, had been quietly gathering information. He had observed Mara and Leo in the gardens, noted their subtle gestures, and spoken to servants who glimpsed them together. He had begun to suggest to the council that the princess's behavior was unusual, perhaps even dangerous for the stability of the palace. Mara walked into the council chamber with her head held high, though her heart thumped nervously. The grand hall was lined with tall pillars and shimmering banners, and the council members' eyes followed her every move. They expected a report on trade and diplomacy, but Kieran had other plans. "Princess Mara," Kieran began smoothly, his voice polite but firm. "There are concerns among the council. Your recent behavior has drawn attention. Perhaps you would care to explain yourself." Mara's pulse quickened. She had anticipated this moment, yet it still felt overwhelming. She glanced at her advisors, but their faces were tense and cautious. Mara took a deep breath, remembering the calm, steady presence of Leo and the lessons she had learned from their bond. "I understand the concerns," she said carefully, "but there is nothing dishonorable in my actions. I have been studying the history and traditions of our people. I have been learning about connections that may shape our future." Kieran smirked slightly, leaning forward. "Connections, Princess?" "Some suggest these connections involve a human. That such a bond is forming would be unprecedented." A hush fell over the room. The council members exchanged whispers, some shocked, others curious. Mara's heart beat faster, yet she felt a strange sense of determination. She realized that hiding the truth could be worse than revealing it carefully. "Yes," Mara said, her voice steady. "The soulmate indicator is real. It has shown me a bond with someone unexpected. I cannot ignore it. I have learned that this bond could bring strength, understanding, and unity between worlds." A murmur spread through the council. Some members looked scandalized. Others recalled the ancient stories of rare bonds that had changed history. Mara's eyes met Kieran's, and she saw both his surprise and the spark of challenge in his gaze. Kieran raised a hand. Princess Mara, are you suggesting that a human could be more than an ally? That such a bond could influence the future of Zarathis? Mara nodded. Yes, I believe the bond is genuine. It cannot be ignored. But I also understand the need for caution. This connection does not replace duty. It strengthens it. The council was silent. Some elders whispered among themselves, debating the implications. Mara realized that this moment was not just about her. It was about showing her people that courage and honesty could overcome fear and prejudice. Meanwhile, Kieran began to plot. He would not easily accept a human as part of the royal future. He whispered doubts to other nobles, questioning the wisdom of the princess's choices. Yet Mara remained calm. She knew that time and patience could counter Kieran's schemes. After the meeting, Mara retreated to the palace garden, seeking solace. Leo was waiting as if he had sensed the tension from afar. His calm presence reassured her, reminding her of the bond they shared. You handled that well, he said softly. The council will take time to understand, but you spoke with honesty and courage. Mara smiled faintly. I could not hide the truth, not from them and not from myself. But the challenge is just beginning. Kieran will not rest, and neither will the others who fear change. Leo nodded. Then we must be ready. Your strength and wisdom will guide you, but you do not have to face this alone. Together, they walked through the gardens, the soulmate indicator glowing faintly on Mara's wrist. It was a quiet reminder of their connection, a bond that neither politics nor prejudice could easily break. Mara felt a new sense of purpose. The human beside her was more than a companion. He was a partner, a guide, and a source of courage. As night fell, Mara returned to her chambers, thinking of the council meeting and the challenges ahead. The palace was full of whispers, and Kieran's plotting would continue, but she felt prepared. The bond with Leo had given her strength, clarity, and determination. She looked out over the palace towers, watching the twin moons rise in the sky. Somewhere within the palace, Leo was doing the same. His thoughts focused on her and the quiet promise of the bond they shared. Mara knew that the days ahead would test them both, but she also knew that together they could face any challenge. The soulmate indicator glowed softly, a silent witness to their courage and connection. Mara felt ready to meet whatever came next. Change was coming, and with Leo by her side, she would face it with confidence, wisdom, and hope. The calm of the palace was shattered when the alarm bells rang across Zarathis. Princess Mara, sitting in her chambers, froze at the sound. Leo appeared almost instantly, having anticipated a threat during his patrols. Both knew that danger had come to their world, and it would test not only their courage but the strength of their bond. A neighboring planet, Talvoria, had launched a sudden attack. Its fleet approached the outer atmosphere, armed with energy weapons and advanced ships. The palace defenses were strong, but the attack was strategic, designed to exploit any political tension inside Zarathis. Mara realized that Kieran's schemes and the council's uncertainty could weaken their ability to respond effectively. Mara and Leo moved quickly to the command center. The room was filled with holographic displays showing the Talvorian fleet approaching. Advisors shouted commands, and the air was tense with urgency. Mara took a deep breath and stood beside Leo. She had trained for leadership her whole life, but this was different. The threat was real, immediate, and the stakes were enormous. Princess Mara, said Commander Loris, the Talvorians are attempting a direct assault. We must act immediately. Mara nodded. She could feel Leo's presence beside her, steadying her. She placed her hand near his, feeling the warmth and strength of their connection. The soulmate indicator glowed faintly, a reminder that their bond could guide them even in the darkest moments. We will defend our palace and our people, Mara said firmly. We will show them that Zarathians are not to be underestimated. Leo responded with calm confidence. We fight together. Trust me, Princess. Using the palace's advanced technology, Mara and Leo coordinated defenses. Mara's knowledge of strategy and diplomacy combined with Leo's human perspective and ingenuity created an unexpected advantage. Together they anticipated Talvoria's maneuvers, redirecting energy shields, deploying defensive drones, and organizing countermeasures. As the first wave of Talvorian ships approached, Mara noticed Kieran among the advisors, his face tense and uncertain. He had expected chaos and failure, but the princess and the human guard were working seamlessly. The bond between them, once hidden and fragile, now became a source of inspiration for all who witnessed it. The battle raged outside the palace shields. Mara remained focused, giving commands while staying close to Leo. Each time their hands brushed during the coordination of defense systems, the Soulmate indicator glowed, reinforcing their trust and connection. It was more than a tool. It was a signal that their unity could influence not only personal destiny, but the survival of their planet. Hours passed. The Talvorian fleet advanced in waves, testing every defense. Mara and Leo worked tirelessly, anticipating attacks and guiding the palace defenders. The council, initially skeptical and hesitant, began to follow their lead. Confidence spread as they saw that courage, unity, and determination could overcome fear and prejudice. Finally, the last wave of Talvorian ships was repelled. The fleet retreated, damaged and disorganized, unable to breach Zarathus's defenses. Mara breathed a sigh of relief, but she knew the test was not over. Kieran and others in the council would continue to challenge her authority and question the bond with Leo. Yet for the first time, Mara saw that courage and truth could shine brighter than doubt and fear. As the palace lights reflected off the twin moons, Mara and Leo stood together on the balcony overlooking the gardens. The battle had tested them, not just physically but emotionally. They had relied on each other completely, and the bond between them had proven stronger than either could have imagined. "You were incredible," Leo said quietly. "Your people see what I have known from the beginning. You are brave, wise, and strong." Mara smiled, feeling a mix of relief and pride. "And you," she replied, "showed me the courage I needed to face this. I could not have done it alone." The Soulmate indicator glowed steadily now, no longer faint or uncertain. It symbolized more than connection. It symbolized trust, loyalty, and shared purpose. Mara realized that their bond was not just about destiny, but about choice. They had chosen to face the challenge together, and that choice had made them stronger. As the palace settled into quiet once more, Mara returned to her chambers, her mind alive with the events of the day. She knew that the battle with Talvoria had united the people in a new way. They had seen the power of courage, the strength of trust, and the potential of bonds that crossed boundaries. Somewhere nearby, Leo remained vigilant, ready to defend the princess and the palace at any moment. The connection they shared had grown, a quiet force that would guide them through the challenges ahead. Mara realized that the future of Zarathus and the bond between their worlds depended on courage, trust, and the willingness to embrace what was extraordinary. That night, Mara lay in her chambers, feeling the steady glow of the Soulmate indicator. She understood that the test of loyalty was only one of many they would face. Yet for the first time she felt confident that together, they could overcome any obstacle. The bond between a human and a princess had proven powerful, and the story of their courage and unity was only beginning. The palace was calm in the morning light, but Princess Mara felt a sense of anticipation she could not shake. The recent Talvorian attack had tested her courage and the bond with Leo, yet she knew the greatest challenge was still ahead. Today she would face the council again, this time to declare the truth of her soulmate connection openly. Leo stood beside her as they walked through the marble corridors. His calm presence reassured her. The soulmate indicator glowed steadily on Mara's wrist, a quiet symbol of the trust, courage, and connection they had shared through every trial. Together they approached the council chamber, where noble members and advisors were already gathered. Kieran, the ambitious noble, sat with a smug expression. He had anticipated that the princess might hesitate or falter, but Mara's determined stride showed him that she was ready. Mara took a deep breath and entered the chamber, Leo close behind. "Princess Mara," one council member said, "after the recent events, the council awaits your guidance." Mara nodded. She spoke clearly, her voice strong and confident. "The recent attack by Talvoria showed us the importance of unity, trust, and courage. It also revealed something personal, yet significant. The soulmate indicator has shown me a bond with a human named Leo. This bond is genuine, and it has guided us in ways that have strengthened our people and our defenses." A murmur ran through the council. Some members gasped, others exchanged skeptical glances. Mara continued without hesitation. I understand that this is unusual. It is rare for a Zarathian to share such a connection with a human. Yet the bond has proven its strength and its value. It has helped me make decisions, lead with clarity, and protect our people. Kieran rose, his voice sharp. Princess, do you ask the council to accept a human as your equal? Do you ask us to disregard tradition? Mara met his gaze firmly. I ask you to see what courage, trust, and loyalty can achieve. Tradition is important, but wisdom and unity are stronger. Leo has stood by me, not only as a guard, but as a partner in every challenge we faced. The bond between us is real, and it has benefited Zarathis in ways none of us could have predicted. The council fell silent. Elders whispered among themselves, remembering stories of rare soulmate bonds that had shaped history. They realized that this connection was not a threat but an opportunity. Mara had shown strength, honesty, and the ability to embrace what was extraordinary. Kieran's expression hardened, but even he could see that the council's opinion was shifting. Mara's courage had turned skepticism into curiosity and respect. The princess's openness had changed the room, and the story of her bond with a human began to inspire instead of alarm. After the meeting, Mara and Leo walked together through the palace gardens. The twin moons reflected off the fountains, casting soft light across the paths. Mara felt a sense of relief and pride. Their bond had been tested, both by battle and by court intrigue, and it had emerged stronger than ever. You were incredible today, Leo said softly. You spoke with clarity and courage. You showed everyone what true leadership is. Mara smiled, feeling warmth in her heart. And you, she said, helped me find that courage. I could not have faced them without your support. For the first time, Mara felt that the people of Zarathis might accept the extraordinary bond they shared. The soulmate indicator glowed steadily, a quiet promise of hope and unity. Mara realized that their connection was more than a personal relationship. It was a bridge between worlds, a symbol of courage and a reminder that strength often comes from unexpected places. In the following days, the council openly acknowledged the value of the bond. Leo's presence became accepted within the palace not as a threat, but as a symbol of trust and partnership. Mara continued her duties as princess with renewed confidence, knowing that together, they could guide Zarathis toward a future of unity, understanding, and prosperity. Mara and Leo spent time together openly now, their conversations filled with shared dreams, plans, and hopes for the future. The bond between them deepened, not only through the soulmate indicator but through mutual respect, loyalty, and trust. Mara realized that this connection was a gift, one that could inspire her people and create lasting harmony between humans and Zarathians. As the twin suns set and the palace lights reflected in the crystal towers, Mara stood on the balcony with Leo. The air was cool and the gardens below were quiet. She placed her hand in his, feeling the familiar warmth of the bond. The journey has not been easy, she said softly, but I believe that together we can face anything. This bond is a part of us now, and it will guide us toward a better future. Leo nodded, his expression calm and confident. I feel the same. Together we are stronger. Together we can show both our worlds what courage, trust, and unity mean. The soulmate indicator glowed brightly, steady and unwavering. It was no longer just a symbol of destiny, but a testament to the choices they had made, the courage they had shown, and the bond they had built. Mara felt a sense of peace and hope she had never known before. Zarathis, once uncertain, now looked to the future with anticipation and trust. The story of the princess and the human had inspired the people, showing that strength could come from unity, understanding, and bravery. Mara and Leo stood together, a symbol of harmony and hope for their worlds. And as night fell over the palace, the glow of the soulmate indicator shone steadily on Mara's wrist, a promise of love, courage, and a future that neither tradition nor fear could diminish.